Final thanks very much indeed. Our first witness is Brendan O'Neill, editor of Spiked Online magazine. Brendan O'Neill, you said on TV last week, rather famously, that anger over Brexit was not only legitimate but desirable. I think riots, you said, not only would happen if it wasn't delivered, but should happen. Do you still stand by that?
I'm not falling for that one again. I think perhaps I kind of used the wrong word. Riots are worrying things, but I do think we've reached the threshold for political protest. And I do think there is a fine tradition in this country of people taking direct action when they feel that their democratic voice has been ignored. And that's what's happening right now.
Matthew Taylor.
To justify anger in a political context, because after all, it's not as if you're an oppressed person yourself. Presumably, you have to believe that something immoral is happening. So you do think that
Absolutely.
Something immoral is happening. So for you, the fact that Brexit has not occurred or the possibility that it might not occur is a moral issue.
It's the definition of immorality that we were told that we would be partaking in this huge, unprecedented democratic referendum. We were told that our votes would be respected, and then they turned around and said, actually, that's not going to happen. I think that is highly immoral, and I think people should feel incredibly angry about that situation.
So I understand that, but it seems to me that the Gordian knot at the heart of Brexit is that while 48% of people voted for Remain, and that's Remain, 52% of people voted for something which could be anywhere on a spectrum, from staying in the single market, which, for example, I'd be relaxed about, to leaving without a deal, which I'd be terrified about. Isn't that actually, the fact that 52% voted for something on such a wide spectrum, is that an intellectual problem, not a moral problem?
It's not rocket science. People voted to no longer be a member of the European Union. It's really easy for me and you, people like me and you, Matthew, because we have various platforms on which to express ourselves. We have newspaper columns, we have radio shows like this. There are some people whose only voice, literally their only voice, try to imagine it, their only voice is their vote. And when they are told that their vote no longer counts, or it can be declared null and void by people in Parliament who know better than them, just try to think about the impact that has on their lives. Try to think about the impact that has on their sense of self, on their sense of their power in the world. And I think that that's the moment at which we reach a very clear immoral exercise, and a very clear exercise at which people ought to feel very, very angry.
But I think that I understand that as a critique of hardcore Remainers who want to cancel Article 50 or whatever. But your anger is expressed towards the establishment. It's expressed towards the officials, the people trying to work this out. And it seems to me that their problem is not a moral problem. It's the intellectual problem of deciding what form of Brexit we should have, given that we clearly don't have a mandate for any particular form of Brexit. We have a mandate for Brexit overall, but not the type of Brexit it should be.
We have a mandate for not being for the UK not being a member of the European Union. It really is not complicated. And what that means,
why do you say, but hang on. You see, this is what interests me.
Matthew,
you said something really important there. You said something really important, which goes to me to this anger point. You said it is not complicated. I mean, it is dumb. If it is nothing else, it is extremely complicated.
It's not complicated.
You have to say it's not complicated to reduce it to a moral issue, an issue of motive, rather than an intellectual issue where people might be trying to do their best.
Matthew, you're an intelligent man. You know that you're either a member of something or you're not a member of something. And the people voted to no longer be members of the European Union. And what that means, take back control, means that there are various areas of British life over which the EU should have no control. That is trade, that is borders, and that is law. And take back control means resuming our sovereign power against the Brussels bureaucracy.
So all the people who support a softer form of Brexit, or all the people who, in good faith, the establishment, are trying to work out a way through this. They are not people trying to find a way forward and recognising it's difficult. They are morally bankrupt individuals who are part of some kind of conspiracy to screw the ordinary person.
It's the soft Brexit is a post-referendum invented phrase designed by people within the establishment to dilute Brexit and thwart Brexit and frustrate Brexit. So I would argue that, yes, they are behaving immorally by redefining Brexit in their favour and against the people's favour.
Mona Siddiqui.
Brendan, if you value democracy, should you not also value civility?
Sometimes, yes, not all the time.
But you earlier on, you were saying that this is a moral issue. People have behaved immorally. There should be political anger. What does political anger look like to you?
Political anger looks like every single freedom and comfort that we enjoy in the 21st century is the gift of people who express political anger and who took direct action and who, lo and behold, used violence. If you look at every single heroic movement in British history, that's what they did, right from the Levellers of the 1640s through to the Chartists of the 1840s, through to the suffragettes of the 1910s. They used direct action to secure the freedoms that we currently enjoy.
Yes, so what does that look like to you today? In terms of what's happening with Brexit, do you imagine 17 point whatever million people out on the streets writing?
I don't.
What does this political anger look like to you?
It looks to me,
because it's very easy to say
moment,
people should rise up, that you are somehow a saviour for the voice of the marginalised and the oppressed. But what does that look like?
I don't think I'm a saviour for anyone. I'm simply one of the 17.4 million, and I can assure you that these 17.4 million people feel sold out.
And
they feel betrayed.
That.
And one of the problems I have is the current discussion about the misuse of language or the misuse of words like sabotage and betrayal and so on. To many, many millions of people out there, these feel like incredibly accurate words. They feel like they've been betrayed. They feel like their vote is being sabotaged.
Fine. That's fine. There are issues on both sides, okay? People have been calling each other names, whether it's in Parliament or out on the streets, on Twitter. But the point is, whether you voted for Brexit or Remain, is this what we wanted Parliament to look like? MPs calling each other names, women leaving the House of Commons in tears, people saying that let's mind our language because this is not what we voted for. This is not what decency looks like in British politics. Because what you're saying, still very clever language that you're using, is underneath it all, the only way we're going to get Brexit done is for people to riot.
I don't want people to riot, but I do want people to protest, because the only avenue they have for expressing themselves and for affecting change, which is the vote, has been closed off to them.
Yeah,
so what other choice do they have?
Yeah, but I'm trying to get pinpoints. What does protest look like?
Hold on, you and I have various different ways in which to affect change or to influence people. Think about the people in Stoke-on-Trent or Merthyr Tydfil or Dagenham.
I get that.
What other
I'm asking
choice
you,
do they have right now?
That's true, people can protest. I'm asking you to clarify what protest looks like. Because you see, anger isn't some abstract point. Anger can cost lives. Anger's about people's safety. Anger's about people saying or starting off with careful words or managed words or managed anger, and then once they're out on the streets, anything can happen. So I'm asking you, what does protest look like?
Anger is the engine of progress. Anger is the thing that has motivated progress in this country for hundreds and hundreds of years. I think people are right to be angry, and how they express their anger is down to them. All I'm saying is that the anger is now the emotion that we need in politics. It's not irrational. It's perfectly irrational in these circumstances.
Brendan O'Neill, thank you very much indeed.